Hey y'all, it's Summer Hammonds with hammondsnest.com, and let's get fall crafty today. So I'm working with a little grapevine wreath and some beautiful embossed paper, both of which I picked up at Hobby Lobby. The first step is to trace just barely under the grapevine wreath to get you a circle that matches, because we're going to end up gluing that on the back here in a minute after we're done giving it a little fall flair. So the cool thing about this embossed paper is it's paintable. So I'm using Waverly's color pumpkin and Folk Art's color cinnamon, and I'm just kind of blending the both kind of while they're both still wet, giving a little bit of variation, but I'm just trying to deepen that pumpkin color by Waverly because it was a little too bright for my taste. But the cool thing about this paper, like I said, is it's paintable, and you may have seen me use it before. So it's much thicker than cardstock. It has a different feel. And so once you get that paint on there, it's not going to curl up or anything on you, but let that all the way dry. And then on top of it being paintable, it's also distressable. So I have a little piece of sandpaper in my hand, and I'm just lightly scraping. I worked really hard to get all the paint down in the grooves because I knew I wanted to distress and kind of highlight that beautiful design. So that's what I did. Once that was done to my liking, I took some hot glue, put it right around the edge, and then popped that grapevine wreath on. And so that's going to hold on tight. Now we're going to keep adding embellishments, one of which is this vintage thread spool. And I have a little dowel. And this was just something I came up with because I really wanted it. I didn't want to just glue the spool on top of the grapevine wreath because I knew that really wasn't going to hold. So I went an extra measure. I have a wooden dowel that I cut down, and I'm trying to make sure that it's not really going to stick out much because I'm actually going to wedge it down there into the grapevine wreath. So I'm using the end of my paintbrush to kind of just make that hole and make way for that dowel. And so then I'm going to bring my glue gun out again, and I'm going to pop some glue down in that hole I've kind of created where I can kind of see where it's going to end up being pushed in. So get that glue in there, and then grab that little piece of dowel that I've cut and get that in there. So it takes a little maneuvering, but I like that because it means it's going to be a really tight fit. And once it glues and dries, the glue dries, it's going to hold really nicely. So it's going to be really nicely made. And that's typically my goal whenever I do like to craft. So then I put a little bit more glue on the dowel and pop that thread spool on there, letting that cool off. While that's all cooling off there, we are going to grab some greenery. This greenery stalk is one of my favorites, especially for fall. I use it spring too, but especially for fall because it has these little pieces of wire with it that you can make kind of look like pumpkin tendrils, and then you've got the beautiful greenery and just has a really nice vintage look, and I love it. And if you love it too, you can find it at Hobby Lobby. So I'm just getting the pieces that I wanted, getting them all glued in place. I'm really liking the way it's turning out. So we're just going to continue embellishing this. I have a little piece of ripped fabric, it has pretty green material. I'm gluing the little wire underneath there for the tendrils and then popping that fabric right on top. We've still got a couple more pieces we're going to just kind of keep layering because I feel like sometimes less is more, but sometimes, you know, it's the little bitty details that really make a craft special. And for this one in particular, just the embellishments on the top underneath here, especially for fall, are really my favorite. So I've got all that kind of layered. One of my last steps, I've grabbed this Simplicity brand ribbon that I picked up at Walmart. It's kind of like a window pane design to it, and I'm just doing a simple bow, and that just means a long strip where I fold it over and it laps over each other, and then I give it a nice little tie. And once I get that tied tightly and get it all trimmed up and kind of fluffed out, it is wire ribbon, so it really keeps a nice shape to it. I'm going to put a little bit more glue right there on top of that ripped fabric piece, get that bow to glue down, and then as one little extra touch, I've got a wooden button to go right in the center. And I think with that last embellishment, I'm really pleased with how this looks. There are so many different ways to make this one your own, that depending on like the size of the grapevine wreath, what color you paint your pumpkin, all your embellishments. You really could have fun with this one. And I think the simplicity of it is very nice too. So let me know if you're inspired. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out and seeing it all come together. And come back soon for more creative ideas. Bye, y'all.